Hello, it's me, Tara. Long time no video. I recently signed up for a swap that it was a never-ending art card. So this is the finished product here, and I thought I would just show you guys how I made this. Um, it took me to like 2 hours. It was very time-consuming, but a lot of fun. So you start off folding the paper, hot dog style. Is that hot dog style? I don't even know anymore. And then you fold it over again, and just make sure you have nice straight folds. And then you're going to be making a hamburger style fold, maybe. Do that twice, and then you'll end up with 16 little squares on your piece of paper, and you'll cut out the middle four. Don't be like me. Do not try to use a paper cutter. It was a really dumb idea. Um, it was really complicated, really dumb. So you should end up with your paper looking like that. I am incapable of collaging on white backgrounds, so I decided to use some paint and just kind of do whatever, just so I didn't feel intimidated by a stark white piece of paper. So that's what I'm doing here. I just picked out some colors. I don't know why, but I always go towards like blues and teals and greens with a little bit of yellow and black. I don't know why that's such a popular combination for me, but it's just what it is. So I just do that, just randomly painting and doing whatever. And then I realized there was still a lot of white on the paper, so I went back over with some blue, that light blue there. And then doing some stenciling. I actually decided I really hate this stencil. I really like the idea of having like a handwriting stencil, but this one is just, it just comes out looking like weird and not good, no matter what I do. This thing is like a piece of packaging or something I got, but I really like the dots that it puts down on the paper when you put paint on it. So I use that all the time. I like the way it looks. And so I flipped over the paper and doing the back side now. Kind of the same concept. I'm just laying down some paint over the white and then kind of just decorating it from there with the other colors. But yeah, so this is just, just doing some random stuff. I really like doing those little paintbrush dots. It's kind of like my go-to thing these days. I don't really know why, but I like the way it looks. And then I'm going to use that little packaging again. I put water on the paint this time just to give it so it could like spread around a little bit easier. I didn't do that with the yellow one, and it just didn't really take that well. So I usually put water in it, but I was lazy, and I learned my lesson there. So don't do that. Always put some water on it. And then adding some yellow here. Just trying to make like little dry brush marks with the yellow there. And then I flipped over the side and I was like, this is really plain compared to the other side. So I put some more paint on it, some dark blue, which I didn't have on that side. So to assemble the actual card, you're going to take the bottom left corner, put glue on it, and fold it up. Just make sure you're matching up all of your edges. And then the top right corner, glue, fold down, and just make sure everything just lines up so it's not all crazy and wacky. And then you're going to take the top left corner. I turn the paper around so it's kind of confusing, but that is the top left corner. And then the bottom right corner you're going to glue as well and fold those over. And you have your card. I'll put a link in the description of the actual steps to make it, because my video is confusing because I'm just a confusing person. But yeah, so that's your card. And then when you have everything glued down, I recommend going through and just, going over those folds again. When you start collaging on top of it, it gets pretty bulky and kind of hard to open. So you just want to make sure you go through and periodically crease those folds. And so yeah, and then for me, now that I have a color combo, I go through all of my folders of collage bits, and I'm just pulling out stuff that I think might look good. Not necessarily going to use all of it, but I just like having a selection of things. I like to do this and just kind of have like a pile of crap that I can go through without having to go, when I'm working, go through my folders. I just like pulling stuff out in the moment, and then I kind of use stuff from there. It's just a little bit easier for me. And yeah, so I picked out the things that I think I'll want to use. I got these little fish guys. I like the way they went with the colors, and so I'm just cutting those up and deciding placement. And And, you know, just using little bits in here and there from my pile of stuff. I like cutting triangles out of things, you know, just doing some random stuff, thinking that might look good. It does in the end, but I almost forget to put that on there. And yeah, so I just kind of like grab stuff, see if I like the way it looks on that particular area. Usually I do, and I mess around with the placement like a lot. I cut out a lot of fiddling about because no one wants to see that. And then once I decide where I have everything, I just start gluing stuff down. For this, I definitely recommend like stick glue. I did end up using Mod Podge on one of the sides of the card, one of the areas of the card, and that was a terrible idea. Somebody told me not to use it, and I just completely forgot about it. But because it's like a wet glue, it messes with the folds a little bit if you're placing it over a place where it's gonna fold. So don't do that. Just try and stick to that stick glue. I don't know, is there an official name for stick glue? I don't know. Glue stick? Probably more likely is a glue stick rather than stick glue, but you know. Yeah. So aside from all my little collage papers and stuff like that, I always like to use washi tape. It's really good at covering up areas that you don't really like, I guess. Like on that particular side where I put the black washi tape, the yellow was sticking out a little bit and it was really bothering me, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to cover it up with anything else. So, you know, washi tape it is. But yeah, that was the first side of the card here. And then the next side, I really like these little bingo papers. I think they're at least like 7 years old by now. Like I haven't used, I think I went to bingo like once with my family, like 7 years ago. And I saved all of the papers that we all used. So I have different colors like blue, pink, and green, I think. And so these little papers often show up in my collage work because I love them and I really want to get rid of them, but I can't bring myself to throw them away. And so here you can see me using that Mod Podge. Don't do that again. Also on this side, I wasn't really mindful of the fact that you had to open the card, and I kept putting stuff down over the open area, and I had to cut it. So just be mindful of that as well. That's another tip from the failures of Tara. So yeah, I use an X-Acto knife sometimes, but it was just easier kind of to fold the paper over and cut and then try and match up from there. So just putting the finishing touches on this side. I really love those flowers, but again with the Mod Podge, and also they're kind of thicker paper, not really a cardstock, but not really a thin paper. The folding crinkled them and didn't really make it look that great. But, you know, it is what it is. I used them again on another side, and I think I used a glue stick that time. And it was a little bit better, but still just the thinner the paper, the better, especially for this little folding card. So this is the third side of the card. I love that cat, and I'm really happy I got to use it. And then also the little envelope, just like an old, what are they called? The folded mail envelopes, aerograms or something like that. I don't know. But I really like the way that looked and turned out. And using up some of my yearbook pictures. I always like to use those as kind of like strips of black and white. I think it looks pretty cool. So I'm really happy with the way this one turned out. It's kind of minimal, I guess, but it looked good. And then the last card, I'm using up the flowers. I really love those flowers. I think they're so cute. I think I got them out of the Makers magazine. I was randomly sent that when I was living in Portland. It was like a paper company, but they sent out like a monthly magazine thingy. And they always had really cool images and just pretty illustrations. So I kept a lot of the stuff from there. I think this side is probably my favorite out of all of them. I really like that moth and just kind of the little dealies I added here and there, like the stamping and the washi tape. I just like the way it really turned out. So yeah, and then I finished here. I'm just going over the folds again. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Bye.